Zoom.
Hello, and welcome back to Convincing Julia Why We Should Open Up a Cat Cafe.
No, Maddie, this is an F1 podcast, but that does sound very fun.
It can be an F1 cat cafe, and each little cat is dressed up as a racer.
I'm sold. Hello, and welcome to 17 to 1. My name's Julia. I know a lot about F1.
My name's Maddie, and I know a little about F1.
Last week was the Japanese Grand Prix, so we are going to be going over our typical post-race review, our champions, and crashouts from the weekend. Now, this is sometimes metaphorical, sometimes not. Our champions of the week, there weren't that many, but there were some very special performances that we must highlight. Number one, of course, is the man himself, the Dutch Lion, King of the world, our world champion, Max Verstappen. Every time I'm like, wow, this guy can't amaze me more. He proves me wrong because he struggled so hard during the practice sessions and during the qualifying, like Q1 and Q2. He was like doing okay. And then he just pulls out this like absolutely flawless lap and gets pole position. And then the way he like shouted with joy afterwards. Max Verstappen makes me feel things in my cold, dead heart. And that's beautiful. Do you disagree?
Only on the cold, dead heart part, but I don't disagree.
Oh.
It's very heartwarming to see him get so happy and so excited. If I knew that he was like a 3-time winner of Suzuka, I would have changed my prediction and I would have put him first. But we'll get into that later.
True. That man loves Suzuka, and Suzuka loves him. 4-time pole winner, 4-time race winner.
Suzuka is a very interesting track compared to some of the tracks that I have seen and I am aware of, because even listening to the commentators, you got right off the bat, you got turn 1 and then it just goes down into a steep slope, and then you have a lot of like switchbacks later in the race. So, I can understand why he would enjoy Suzuka.
Yeah. I think typically it's a track that the drivers enjoy. Although Fernando Alonso said it best, where he was like, every single time we're going to Suzuka, we always hype it up and we're like, wow, we love Suzuka. And then the race happens and we're like, wow, why do we love Suzuka?
I feel like that is perfect for any athlete in like a sport, and no matter what they do, like a swimmer doing a 500, we love the 500 during it and after. Why do we love the 500? Why do we love the distance?
Exactly. So it is a track that the Red Bull likes, and Max really pulls out everything that he can from it. The way he takes like the final turn into like the starting straight, whatever it's called, he gets like so up close and personal with that wall there. It is absolutely insane. Somebody else that took that corner pretty much like the same way was Ollie Behrman. And Ollie Behrman also qualified very well. So I would also say that he was a champion of this weekend. He was really putting his Haas places that it had no business being, considering his teammate was like all the way in the back. And we might not have gotten any chows out of him this weekend, but the spirit was there.
What an interesting phrasing that came out of your mouth.
Which one?
He was putting a Haas in places where Haas had no business being.
Am I wrong?
You're not, but I don't know. There's something about that phrasing that is like appealing and something that is just so like, no. Yeah, he did great. He's been doing great for what we know of Haas to compare to. Another, which I'm sure all of you are aware of, who is a champion, is Little Kimmy Antonelli, our little 18-year-old who is trying to figure out those exam finals.
He's just a kid.
Just a little boy.
But you know what? He's officially the youngest driver to have ever led a race and the youngest driver to ever have gotten the fastest lap.
And
So, congratulations to Kimmy, little Kimmy
kimchi.
Antonelli.
Kimmy kimchi.
Little Kimmy Kimchi. You did a great job. You absolute champion behavior. Isaac Hajar, also a definite winner of this weekend. He probably didn't feel like a champion for most of it, but he was a champion because tell me why this kid is having seatbelt problems. His seatbelt is squeezing him in places it shouldn't be. He is uncomfortable. He is being castrated by his car, and he still manages to out qualify Lewis Hamilton. That's an insane behavior. And then in the race, he does get passed by Lewis, but I mean, he's in a racing bull and Lewis is in a Ferrari. I would be shocked.
And we also talk about the fact that his seat was not connected as well.
Yeah. I've unlocked a new problem. Me too, Isaac, every day.
Tell me you're a gamer without telling me you're a gamer. New problem unlocked.
So you fixed the seatbelt issue, but now your chair is just
Someone's getting fired.
like, honestly, who constructed his car for this weekend? Because
Sorry, it was me. I didn't tell you.
I knew it. Maddie, I told you that the IKEA directions are not transferable to an F1 car.
It wasn't IKEA directions. It was Lego.
Even worse.
I think it looked great. The Lego instructions took me really far.
Really?
It took me to the wheels. But that's basically all you need.
So true. So true.
So true. Speaking of that, while Isaac managed to handle his terrible seat and seatbelt issues, here are some of the Crashouts that maybe had a bit of a tougher time, and in my opinion, Liam Lawson is one of them. Now, while he started out well, got a good qualifying, and I know what you might say, oh, but Maddie, he's back in a racing bull. Like, he has to get adjusted. Yes, you're right. He might have to get adjusted. That's fair. Might I remind you, he was in this car for like 4-5 months last year. He is familiar with this car, so it was, for me, I had expected him to do a little bit better than he had in the race. And he fell all the way to P17. That's disappointing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I agree. I'm sure he was not looking forward to that sort of return to the racing bulls. And like you said, there's a little bit of an adjustment period, but this is a car that he is theoretically more familiar with, and he was able to qualify better with it than he was with the Red Bull. But to go from 13 down to 17 on a track where nobody is really passing each other, that's just rough. That's rough. And then your teammate is in P7 and finishes in P8. Rough stuff.
This is also coming off of him stating that he is familiar with this track and he can prove himself on this track. And unfortunately, in the world of F1 racing, his actions are not backing up his words.
I agree. But yeah, definitely not the start that he wanted for this weekend. I would say another crash out was more of a mental crash out than an actual one, because he still placed pretty well. But our dear old Alex Albon was having quite the time with his engineers this race.
It was very funny for me. It's like that TikTok soundbite of like, I told you we needed more glitter. Because then he gets out of the car, and in the interview, he's just like, yeah, I was just a little frustrated. I'm like, a little? I've never heard you that angry before.
He was like, honestly, guys, this is ridiculous. I'm so proud of him. I'm so glad that those were aired on the public broadcast. I adored seeing that side of Alex, but I didn't quite like that the team was giving him problems because I like to see Alex do well.
Yes, I think fortunately for the problems he was having, though, he did do pretty decent. He did pretty decent. Another crash out that I just thought of now is Carlos Sainz, because not only has he been having a rough start, and again, we can go back into the car adjustment, and he is no longer in a Ferrari. Um, Man got fined for having tummy issues and leaving during the national anthem. But like at the same time, if I'm having tummy issues, I'm not going to stick around to find out what might happen. I'm sorry. Like that is just that's unfair. Let the man and his stomach problems live.
I was thinking the same thing. And what's even crazier about that to me is they were like, basically, it's usually a 60,000 euro fine, but they reduced it for Carlos because of his stomach problems. But they were basically like, we don't want to encourage people to like lie or like try to get out of it by like claiming the same thing. Man had a doctor's note. Man had a note from a medical doctor stating that it was a medical emergency. And they were still like, fuck you. Okay.
They're like,
Give me your money.
you and that doctor are in cahoots. I can promise you, FIA, I most certainly do not think they are, because as someone who has had stomach problems, it's scary, all right? You don't know if you're gonna make it through dinner or if you're gonna like have some issues.
Honestly, next time he should let the alternative happen.
I think that might be worse for his ego and his image.
Probably, but pettiness. And it would definitively show to the FIA, hey, you don't want me to miss the national anthem no matter what? Okay, I'm gonna stand here and shit all over you.
Listen,
Literally.
I could be wrong with this. Our friend who loves him, I don't know. I think she'd understand. I don't know if she could stand by him if that happens.
All right, poll to the Carlos fans. Would you be able to stand by him
Stand by me.
if, if he had a bathroom incident in the middle of the national anthem? Because he was doing it out of spite against the FIA. That's the key part for me. As long as it's out of spite, I'm okay with it.
I don't know if I can get on board with it. Even then, I don't know. Listen, as someone who is, as a teacher, has dealt with, and their kids, I understand, has dealt with some bathroom issues solely not because they have tummy issues, because they're 5 years old. I can't stand by it.
That is so fair.
So
We can agree to disagree on this issue. I think the one last honorary crash out of the weekend is the grass. Because tell me why it kept catching on fire. We had, I think it was 4 red flags during one of the practice sessions because of all the fires.
oh my.
The grass was crashing out. The FIA was crashing out because they couldn't figure out how to stop the fires from happening. The commentators were crashing out over it. I heard one of them go on a rant for like a long time about how they should just switch out the plate that causes the sparks, that causes the fires. Honestly, probably not a bad idea. But nobody was having it. Personally, I thought it was very amusing, but I will say my honorary crash out of the week goes to the grass around Suzuka.
Speaking of the grass, when you brought that up, I thought you were going to mention the grass that got trimmed by Lando Norris's car.
That grass I would actually qualify as a champion of the weekend. Really doing the Lord's work.
Speaking of that, I could call that a crash out. Maybe Lando Norris got so upset that the grass kept catching fire that he's like, here's your payback. Yeah, vengeance.
honestly, he saw a problem. He saw that a fire was about to start there and was like, I'm gonna deal with that real quick. Get rid of any of the loose shavings, trim it down a little bit, stamp it out, and we'd be fine.
I think he did a great job. Um, was it called for that he's like he pushed me off? No, but at least he can admit he wanted to clean it up. At least he realized at the
Yes.
end he's like it needed some cleaning. And that in the end compared to what we have seen from Lando Norris sometimes, which hey, I get it. I'm upset when I lose too. Julie and I, we play like a spell game together, and I always get beat by our other friends, and I internally crash out. Sometimes I crash out vocally. Um, but he has matured and improved, and I love that for him. It is becoming just enough for little Lando Norris.
So true. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him eating sushi someday.
Sushi! As a sushi hater, I stand by Lando. Lando, you keep liking what you like. You like those 17 egg rolls, you go, buddy.
I cannot physically agree, but as a girl who eats sushi every single Sunday, um, is that potentially not great? I don't know. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Maybe not for your wallet.
No, it's horrendous for my wallet, probably, but for my soul, for my being, for my mental health, priceless.
Okay, MasterCard.
That is the credit card that I have. Let us know who you thought the champions and crashouts of last weekend were, if you agreed or disagreed, or if there was anyone that we missed. This has been 17 to 1. Bye.
Bye-bye.